So welcome. Today's crappy how-to video is about how to assemble your detonator that will go on the back of your FemTK kit by Kevin Ware or at Industrial Surplus. It's KW Designs on Facebook. It's also known as the Legacy Era Stormtrooper, Female Stormtrooper. And it's a crappy video because I don't take time to edit these. I'm busy building armor. So what came in your kit then would have been a PVC pipe that was unpainted, of course, because I got started in this and thought, hey, I should have done this one too. It's 2-inch PVC pipe. You would have these two, and they would have had square edges around them because where he did the ABS forming, you would have gotten this. Some other things you're going to need are your Dremel with the sanding end and the burr. You're going to need your Lexan scissors. I have both curved and straight for trimming. They're fabulous. You're going to need some test store paint gray, which is 1138 from Hobby Lobby or any store or Amazon. You need a paintbrush. Now, as a note, this only comes off with alcohol, so you need a bottle of rubbing alcohol or hand sanitizer, which is high alcohol too. Depending on how you attach it, you're going to need some sort of method of attachment. I chose nuts and bolts because it won't go anywhere and it's non-visible, which is required. Now, as a note, and you're going to need a little bit of craft foam. So here you go. As a note, this is supposed to be about 6.5 inches, and if you notice, this is just a little over 6. And so if you had to go out and get your own 2-inch PVC pipe, you're going to need about a 6-inch piece. By the time you get the ends on, it'll be right at 6.5, which is right where you want it to be. So I chose option A or B, I can't remember. I think it's option A, but it's gray. And there you have options, right? You can go all white or, do the gray. I liked the gray. So I basically began, I also decided to attach this with bolts because it's supposed to be a non-visible method, and you can still see Velcro and anything else. I don't think you could glue because you just can't get enough surface area to, really glue it. So I put in 2 holes, and then what I'm going to do is put them on my kidney plate. I'm actually going to also just take a piece of paper, put it on top, and punch my pencil through so I have a guide for where my holes need to be. As a note, I have long fingers, and I can just, stick my fingers right in the tube and pop it in there, but I wouldn't put yours in the dead center of the tube like I did unless you have long hands. Go off to the edges. You'll be happier because you can reach. Ta-da! So I went ahead and did that. When you put those 2 in, you then need to use this and sand down the holes and get rid of any wonky edges. The next step I did was just paint this. It's pretty easy. You upend it and rotate and paint. I put on 2 coats to make sure it had a nice gray sheen. You can still see my paint strokes just a little bit, but they look pretty nice. It doesn't look bad at all. In retrospect, I would have got a bigger brush, but I used what I had. So, and then while that's drying, because it didn't take long, I went ahead and trimmed these down. They came as squares, and I have an itchy nose because it's all covered in dust. As you can see, I was using this. They came in squares, and I trimmed them first with my Lexan scissors, which are so handy. You should, if you haven't gotten those and a Dremel, you just missed out. I'm so sorry. It's the end of your build, and you worked way too hard. They make your life so much easier. But then I've gotten these edges to be fairly straight lines on them because that's what people are going to see, of course, is that line. And they're ready to go. This one, I didn't have to do much with it. He had this pre-trimmed, and all I did was sand down this edge, and I went ahead and sanded this just a little bit just to even it out. So it wasn't bad at all. Now, if you get this together, you're going to notice right away that these two are the same size. And you're going to be like, no way, they do not go together without some special trick. And you're right, there are special tricks. So some of the things you need to do are first is to reduce the diameter of this pipe. And I've done this a little bit and it started to go on. I'm going to do it even more. So you're going to reduce the diameter of this pipe, and I think I'm going to go a little bit deeper. You can't go too deep because obviously this is going to go in there, and you can see you can't go really too much more. It isn't going to go all the way to the end. That's why the pipe is only 6 inches, right? And it needs to be around 6.5, 7. So deep down, I think the limit is 7. But if it's a little over, nobody will notice because it's a photograph. And as you can see, this one is already starting to kind of go on a little bit better. Yeah, and kind of pop it on a little bit. So that's not too bad. Some other tricks are to put dish soap, around this edge here, and that will help it be slippery and slide on. The very last thing other people have said to do in other forums is to put this into hot water, and you're just going to dip it, and I mean dip it for just like 30 seconds, you know, not much at all. I'd be very careful till this is just a little bit bendable. See how it's already still a little bendable? And then you can go ahead and push this on. Now I was able to kind of get this on a little bit already, so doing this helps a lot. And of course, when you pull it off, it's got some pretty good suction. So if you do not leave any air holes, you are going to have a hard time putting on the second one. So if you choose to do Velcro, you've got to drill a hole in one of these in your first one, or you'll never get it on. Well, maybe you can do your second, because you'll be, yeah, you can do whatever. It has to be in one of them, a tiny hole that you can then fill with paint or caulk when you're done. If you do this method, don't screw your screws in super tight. You'll just let air out, and voila, you won't notice anything. So, yep, you push that on, and see, I can already get that on. Pop it off. Yeah, starting to get that on. So when this is all completed, your two ends are on. You're going to then bolt this to your kidney armor, and it says, you know, you put on your belt, and then an inch above your belt is where this will be. So you will have to, you know, measure and do that and put in your holes. It's not exactly an inch, you'll be okay. And then you're going to glue this right in between everything with this side up, and you will have ended up with a lovely little detonator. As a note, if you do the method with a bunch of screws, these are going to stick into your kidney armor and poke you, just like your helmet. You're like, oh yeah, I remember that. So what you're going to do then is snip off a piece of craft foam, and you're going to glue this on the inside where this basically stabs this and not you. Take your pick. I'd be careful using hot glue, because hot glue is hot, and like we talked about with this, anything that heats this plastic up can cause it to bend or bubble a little bit. So you have to have a low heat glue gun, and maybe you use just a little bit. You could dab it on, or you could put it on the foam, let it cool for a little bit, and then stick it on. Or you could just use double stake tape, or maybe a little bit of regular super glue. CA glue is really strong, and super glue is decently strong, but not fabulously strong. So regular super glue is a similar formula, just I don't think it has as much kick. But then it would be removable and yet stay on. So that's what you want to do. So yay, you're going to not get gouged, and your detonator is going to look great. So this is an overview of how to do your detonator, and happy building.